Adam, thanks for hosting. Really appreciate it. So for the next gen group here, this obviously is the Boost Bitcoin Accelerator, and they've got some really exciting companies here, so we're glad that you welcomed us in.
Yeah, this was a really easy way to get like 100 VCs to look at my companies.
It's good PR. So I'm going to do a quick intro on you for people who haven't Googled you yet.
Okay, perfect.
Third generation VC, as people know, started off kind of...
Fourth? Technically, my great-grandpa was.
I didn't even...
We can get into that.
I knew your grandfather, but I didn't know you.
Yeah.
Okay, so fourth. So probably you and your brother are the only fourth generation VCs would be my guess.
Close, yeah.
So royalty. Let's see. You started angel investing early on. You did an investment in one of our companies called Earnest. You guys should look it up. It's a great company.
So I'm not only going to be advertising my companies, he's going to be advertising his also.
Any chance I get. Also, you did an angel investment in Coinbase, which I believe kind of started this whole Bitcoin thing for you.
It did. Do you want me to like go? Are we doing the story now, or
no, not yet.
Okay.
But
we can hold on.
Please do in a minute.
Yes.
And so obviously you got really into Bitcoin, and now started Boost Accelerator, which is a team of 4 I hear now.
Yep. We just hired Maddie Callender, who's the back there, and she's one of the reasons that this event came together, which is really great.
A total all-star.
Yeah, and Jeff Wazon in the back there also. Give him an applaud because he's crushing it.
Where's Brayton?
And well, I was saying the new hires. Brayton's over there. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
So those are the 4. So if you want to talk to someone who's a part of Boost, who's more interesting than me, talk to one of them. Yeah.
It's a great team.
Yeah.
Also, I should probably thank our sponsors.
Yes, let's do that.
Aaron with Cent Private Capital for all your private capital management needs.
Ascent.
Ascent.
Oh, I thought you said
Did I say it wrong? Ascent.
Yeah, it's Ascent.
So thank you, Aaron, if you're out there. Where are you? Oh, hey, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. She bought the drinks. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Woo!
You should definitely thank her. Cheers. Good food too. Okay, so back to starting. We should start the questions.
Well,
now.
do you want to do any of these other sponsors? We have other sponsors.
Yeah. So I don't know the Cliff team. They sponsor the BitPanel.
Oh, we don't. Okay. Well,
Clef team.
Well, we'll cover this stuff real quick. Clef team. By the way, I wrote a blog post about this, but I was hacked and I lost $50,000 was stolen from me, and so I use Clef for my 2FA. So I highly recommend them. It's fantastic. So that's a huge, and then
it's a good company.
Zapchain's one of our companies. Boost is our company. NextGen are you guys, and Draper Hero City is where we are. So good. You don't need to clap. It's just now we're done. Continue.
That's us. Perfect. Back to it. So I want to start off by kind of assuming that everyone here has at least read a couple articles on Bitcoin and kind of knows, the basics. But maybe is here to learn a little bit more about just the ecosystem in general, things that for you right now kind of, or as an investor, what pieces of Bitcoin you find as really compelling. Examples would be blockchain, et cetera.
Yeah. So when we recently, we just went full Bitcoin this past tribe. We call them tribes. In Tribe 5, which a lot of the companies, you can woot if you're a Boost company in here. Woot? Woot? Okay. Those are all Boost companies who are most likely a Bitcoin company. We have one enterprise software company. They snuck in. But when we've been backing Bitcoin companies for about 2.5 years now, and we got really, really excited about it. One, I had a background, I'll tell the Coinbase story. So I had a background in investing in Bitcoin company because the first person I ever met was Brian Armstrong in the Bitcoin space, and now everyone knows. How many of you own Bitcoin? Can we do that for a second? How many of you have a Coinbase account? So if you had Bitcoin, you have a Coinbase account.
They're kind of winning.
Yeah, they're winning the wallet space anyway. Hopefully they're not winning all the spaces. We've launched 50 companies, so and they aren't. There's a lot of opportunity in the space. But so I met Brian. He was a fantastic entrepreneur. I learned about Bitcoin for the first time from him, and so I was able to straight from the horse's mouth here, this brilliant new world way of like connecting all of the financial markets was essentially what he was pitching me. And I thought it would be a really cool thing to be able to like travel to all the countries and like be able to never cash out of your currency and not have to get deducted by 10% every time you went to a new country. And so that was what I ended up researching. I'm telling the whole Coinbase story. Should I?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. And so I went back home after this, and I was pretty excited about it, and I read up a lot on it, and then I just have a funny end to the story, so that's why I'm going through this.
I know
detail.
the story. Can't wait.
Okay, I'm building. The build up is the best part. But I did more due diligence on Coinbase than I've ever done on any company. Basically, I met with about 5 customers and like 3 investors who were committing to their Funders Club. They were raising on Funders Club at that time. And in the end, after reading all these things, I still didn't understand what the blockchain was. So like that was out the door. But after all this, I knew that there was a very passionate, excited community around this project. And so I sat down, as any brilliant person does, on the toilet one day. And I pulled up this Economist magazine that was next to me, that had been next to me for a year and a half. And I started reading. And there was an entire article from a year and a half before that was about Bitcoin. It was about how the price had just hit $20 per Bitcoin. And it was really interesting to me. And so that was actually the reason I ended up investing in Coinbase. So you can assess that it was because I was brilliant, but it was really because I was luckily had this Economist magazine that was right next to my toilet for about a year and a half. And so this game is often a lot luck. But I ended up saying yes. It ended up being one of the most defining investments of my career because shortly after I founded Boost, which Tribe 2, which started, it was, here to give you a time frame, August 2012 I invested in Coinbase, founded Boost August 2012, second session of Boost started in January, February 2013, something like that. I'm looking at Brayden. We both don't know. But we had, the next one started a little later than that. But in February, we had decided to back Bitcoin companies because it was a very small community. No one had really chosen to say that this was going to be a sector. And we wanted to put our name in the sand and just sort of say, we can do this better than anyone else. We did it. We ended up being reached out to by about 150 entrepreneurs, investors, and enthusiasts in the space. I'd say I was not an expert at the beginning of the month when they started reaching out. I was an expert at the end because I knew what all the experts were thinking. And then we never looked back. We just kept doubling down. We started with 7. The next session, we actually only did 3. Then we did 17 to make up for the fact that we only did 3 the time before. And now we're at 25 in this session. So we've done about 50 companies in the Bitcoin space, which means essentially we have a monopoly on Bitcoin. So if you want to see a Bitcoin company, please call me. I can. Yeah,
that's right.
Actually, that was our thought. Basically, when we were going through the different types of Bitcoin companies that there could be, there were only 5 companies that existed 2.5 years ago. And we were thinking, well, there are more than 5 different types of companies that could exist. Why don't we just create the Bitcoin Mafia, launch 7, and see what happens? And it ended up working out big. So often the crazy things work is what I guess the story's moral is.
So it's interesting, this idea of specialization in the accelerator world. Mm-hmm. So you decided to kind of own this market once you really believed in it. Mm-hmm. Anything else in the future that you feel like you want to get into? Or are you going to do wider fintech or anything like that?
So here, I'll talk about why we went specialized, and then maybe I'll go into what's next. We haven't really announced it yet, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything. I guess I can decide up here if I'm supposed to say anything.
If Brayden nods, he can say it.
Brayden blinked twice. So the reason we ended up doing it was, so I had to raise a fund. I don't know if anyone in this room has ever had to raise a fund before, but it's really, really difficult. I wish you the best luck if you have to. Basically, I started out just raising, I was thinking, hey, I want to be able to invest in, with $6 million, I'll be able to invest in 200 companies and own 6% of 200 companies and be able to jumpstart these great entrepreneurs, create this great network. And I went around and I pitched to a bunch of people. And one of them ended up being Mark Andreessen. And this was after our second and during our third session. And we only had we had 3 Bitcoin companies in that session. And I went up, had this meeting. I was really excited to meet Mark Andreessen. I'd never met him before. He actually reached out to me because he heard that we were doing Bitcoin stuff. And so I wanted to pitch him on Boost, and all he wanted to do was talk about Bitcoin. So we ended up talking about Bitcoin. And
as is natural.
As is natural. And his question to me was, why didn't you double down on Bitcoin? It's working. And so when Mark Andreessen asks you a question like that, you think about it. And so my actual answer to him was reasonable. Like at that time, there weren't a lot of entrepreneurs who were entering the space. This was about a year and a half ago. It wasn't like a huge rush of Bitcoin companies were in existence. And the entrepreneur level was still in this transition period from like early adopter to really opportunistic good entrepreneur. And that was my answer, but I went home and thought about it. I wasn't on the toilet this time, but I was thinking about it, and I ended up at 1 a.m. emailing Mark Andreessen and saying, "You were right. This is going to be a Bitcoin fund. Are you in?" And he wasn't in then, but he did end up committing later. Basically what I ended up realizing was the number one thing that I give advice for, or anyone who runs an accelerator or a venture firm gives advice for, is really focus. Like we say, focus on one thing. Like you can't do everything. You're a team of 4, a team of 2. And I couldn't give that advice unless I was taking my own advice. So I ended up narrowing our focus all the way down to Bitcoin. My team was very supportive of it because it was just Brayton. And it was a very quick conversation. It was great. And from there, it actually clarified everything for us. Like, it made it very easy to pick mentors. It made it very easy to find speakers. There were a lot of things that cleared up for me. Long term, we've always considered ourselves the before the chasm accelerator, sort of like we like taking bets on early things. We've backed rocket companies. We've backed the 3D printing cloth companies. We backed a 3D scanning people company, like it's the best, it's Twindom. You guys, if you go to Valley Fair Mall, you can get scanned and you can print little like chess pieces of yourself. It's pretty awesome. And all those are doing very well, and we like backing the people who are like, there is no space there yet, but for some reason they are doing this thing. And so our next one, we're going to be announcing in like 2 weeks. Okay, he just nodded. I can give the go ahead. We're going to be backing half Bitcoin in our next tribe and half virtual reality companies, because there are a lot of analogous things that are in virtual reality that were to Bitcoin, such as it's a small community of very passionate people. It's mostly software driven because the hardware is already built by like bigger companies. And we're very good. What we're very good at is building out a community around a technology, like plugging all these entrepreneurs into a network of investors and other entrepreneurs who can help them, and then building on that. And that network grows on itself. So that's what we're really good at, and that's sort of what our sell is anyway. And so that's what we're selling. So next is VR. So if you guys know anything about VR, call me.
That's great. You heard it here first.
Yeah, this was literally the first more public place that we announced it. Yeah, we're going to do a much more public launch in 2 weeks, so don't tweet. None of those tweet things.
Congrats. So back to the original question.
I don't even remember what it was.
What's the most compelling piece of Bitcoin right now that you're really
oh my God, I did not answer that. Okay, I didn't answer that at all. So now, back to that question. What's interesting is thinking about what Bitcoin does better than cash. So when you're thinking about what Bitcoin does better than cash, it's better for cross-border payments. So whether it's B2B or peer-to-peer remittance, it's better for a store of value in a lot of countries. So we have a problem in the United States where we think about our own situation, and our banking system is pretty good. Like we trust that our money is going to be there tomorrow. We trust that the value of the money is going to be there tomorrow. And in Argentina, that is not true. There's an inflation rate of 25% annually. There's in Africa, they have 10%. There are certain countries in Africa that have 10% bank account adoption, but 90% cell phone adoption. And that's a perfect place for Bitcoin to thrive. And so, like, a store of value is actually very valuable for those places. Everyone always talks about volatility. I don't know, like, most currencies are pretty volatile. Ruble dropped like half this year. That's pretty interesting. And then one of the major things that I think will lead to more mass adoption for Bitcoin will be microtransactions. It's something that literally is not possible with the current system. Being able to send 5 cents as a tip is sort of a very valuable instrument. We have 2 companies sort of represent this. One is called BitMesh that is doing. You're able to resell your Wi-Fi, which is pretty fascinating, and it's a huge technical feat. So you guys should check that out, future. And then Zapchain, which is it's a community of Bitcoiners right now, but they're going to be opening up to new communities soon. Which basically, instead of liking something, you tip them. Actually, the most powerful thing is bounties, saying I'll pay you $5 if you answer this question. It turns out people like being paid for their work. So yeah. Did I pitch that right, Matt? Okay, good.
I think that's great. So what parts are lagging behind? So as an investor, you're looking for things to shore up. Are there any security things you're interested in? What's going on there?
Yeah, I'd say there are a lot of companies that have started brokers and wallets and mining companies, and I'd say that was the first infrastructure layer that needed to pass for Bitcoin to work. And I'd say I actually think that there will still be innovation in those spaces, and we continue to back a few very awesome entrepreneurs in those spaces. But generally, if you're going to be creating a Bitcoin company, do something vastly different. I'd say the things that you shouldn't be competing directly with Coinbase right now, just because you need to be attacking it from a different direction and solving a problem that you can do better than Coinbase, because you won't get as many wallets as them right now. They just own the market. On the security level, anything that is a problem with Bitcoin, scaling, scaling infrastructure, let's see here, security, any of those are big opportunities for Bitcoin. There could be the Cloudflare of Bitcoin. There could be there are a lot of companies that are starting the AWS web services of Bitcoin. We have one called BlockCypher that's plug and play, build a Bitcoin company. So I would say it's not so much that there are things that you stay away from. It's the evolution is moving towards what's happening in 2 to 5 years, not what's happening right now. So if that makes sense.
That's good.
Yeah,
thank you. So I want to shift the conversation now to, since we've got a lot of young VCs in the audience.
Cool.
That are looking to get involved in early stage companies, of course, being as helpful as possible with those companies. As a person who runs an accelerator, just generally, what can a young VC do to be really helpful to your companies and, of course, build stronger relationships with you and your team?
Invest in them.
Yeah. This is all about the money.
No, I think what VCs can do that's very similar to what we do, except on a more broad level. I'd say a lot of VCs are verticalized just like us and have a network of their own, which is the most powerful thing that a VC brings to the table. That's why you want venture capital money and not random money. They call VC money generally smart money. And I think just assisting, however they can. I always say, it's a lot of my job is connecting people to people who can help them. Doing that because it would take some off of my plate, to take some of my work. Please do it for me. It's really anything. Each company is different, and just being able to assess the needs and seeing what they need. And I mean, this is also companies need to be able to figure out what they're asking for. And companies shouldn't only be asking for money. They should be asking for someone who has the knowledge of raising capital, who has the knowledge in their sector to be able to build the space, or someone in the telco space if they're building a telco something. Yeah, I don't. It's really just like asking to be helpful, like saying, hey, what can I do to help? Like I end every conversation with what can I do to help you? And it's worked out pretty well thus far. So I don't know, my schedule is very full with that statement, but it's also been very helpful to a lot of people, I think, because I just try to help people as much as they can.
Right, I find a lot of the early stage companies, especially in accelerators, are really looking for building that network because younger companies in general maybe haven't met the whole ecosystem in terms of investors.
Yeah.
So that's what I focus. I've been a mentor here at Boost for every session but the first.
Yes. So
how many? What are you on now?
5. So
5.
You've been 4.
So for 4. Yeah. And that's pretty much my goal as well. So I'm not an expert in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a specialist,
well,
but you do need to understand it and be helpful.
Yes. You understand something about startup businesses. Like early stage startups in general, like companies come in here and they don't really know, they don't know how to incorporate. They don't know, where they should go to be able to incorporate. They don't know what terms are. They don't know what convertible notes are. They don't know what terms are. Like there are just a lot of things that they don't know. And so if for the early stage companies, I mean, what you can do is just the basic stuff. It's like knowing the basic stuff and being able to help explain those things to the startups. And I don't know, like just communicate with them, talk to them, especially at this level. A lot of VCs aren't writing the like 100 to 250K check. They're writing the $2 million to $5 million check, which is after the seed round. But I still think that if you're going to start a relationship, start sharing your network with the companies, like you'll need to just help with the basic stuff at the beginning so that you create the relationship. Create a relationship. That's what my advice is. Like just say hi, be helpful. Yeah.
So I want to ask you one more question, then we're going to let you guys ask a couple questions. We'll probably need to use my mic so that you can catch the audio. Cool. But last question is, what apps are on your home screen?
Oh yeah.
What do you got? What are you working with?
Yeah. Mostly porn. Yeah, let's see here. Well, I have a picture of my baby on my background.
Quinn?
Yeah, Quinn, my daughter.
Cutest baby alive.
Well, here, the things I'm using, I'll say what I'm using. I have Clef because literally I do use 2FA for everything. Like I can log out all my stuff right now. Here, I'm actually going to do that. Ready for this? Boom, on stage.
Demo.
Oh, it's already logged out. Sorry. You're not going to see a live demo. Trending, it's one of our companies that does music. It's the best music app. They use the YouTube API, so they don't need to deal with the record companies. And then Instagram, Facebook, stock thing, Captio. Dude, Captio. Yes. Use that.
I think I told you about that one. There's a decent chance.
I told you about that.
That may be true.
No, I don't know. I've had it for a while. It basically, Captio, you know how you email yourself to do things? This takes the writing your name, your email address in the email out of it, and basically you just write a note and sends you an email to yourself. It's great. Although you have to pay $1 for it or something, which is a bummer. And then, yeah, that's it. I mean, I have Bitcoin, like a BTC report. Let's see what it's at. 246, down day, unfortunate.
Time to buy.
Yeah, good time to buy. It's good. It's a good.
Great.
Time.
So who's got some questions?
No.
Not
nice.
He said, what can I do to help?
Yeah, well.
It's good, Dan.
Yeah, well, come buy lunch for my companies and meet with them. Basically, you buy.
Yeah.
You buy lunch, you are a god to these companies. Like, they do not like spending money on lunch. So you just bring lunch to the companies, and you will be you will already be a big help because you'll be fueling them. And all we feed them is basically pizza and Red Bull. So anything away from that, helpful.
Perfect. I've seen Chipotle as well.
Yeah, Chipotle.
Big orders.
Chipotle's on our crap list, so like they keep messing up our orders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we used to only do Chipotle, and we've cut them off because we were such a big order every week. Any other questions?
Yes,
but
questions.
Helpful. Buy my company's lunch.
Jad's got one. This is your company.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so my question is, you see that the investments in Bitcoin companies are picking up with investments like 100 million plus in 21, the recent raise by Coinbase. But at the same time, you hear that sometimes you hear the advice, you're a Bitcoin company, don't even bother trying to pitch your company to someone that doesn't know about Bitcoin. What do you think it's going to take to change to be able to raise money from any VC, not just people who already have previous experience?
So there is an education barrier still. I'd say Brian Armstrong 2.5 years ago did the companies in the room a service by pitching every single VC that he knew. And so most venture capitalists have some level of knowledge around the Bitcoin space. And I'm not so angel investors too, like he went through the whole thing. But there are gaps, like Bitcoin is confusing. It's not a very simple, tangible thing. It's not something you can like touch or feel. So it's sort of difficult, and it's sort of difficult to see the results of it also, even if you send money to people. So it's like this imaginary thing. Getting people to wrap their head around that is really getting them to use it, I think. And so getting them to like get a better onboarding process, get a better, and we have like Fold is doing that, you're doing that, but like a better onboarding process to actually onboard the companies, onboard the investors. I think getting in front of an investor is very easy if you're a Bitcoin company because it's a Bitcoin company. There really aren't that many Bitcoin companies. In fact, this is most of them. So you get to really like control that dialogue, and you get to teach. I think everyone needs to get on the same page on how they're pitching Bitcoin as a thing.
Yeah, I want to add to this. So we actually just did our first Bitcoin deal. We invested in a Boost company called Mirror. It's great. Go say hi to Avish.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure everyone in this room has met Avish.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so I think that now it has hit a point where people are willing to look at Bitcoin deals. The issue is you still need to line up people with like that sector specification for what you're pitching, right? So Bitcoin, maybe someone that's a fintech investor, or if you're doing some sort of consumer service, it's a consumer service company that's utilizing Bitcoin positives. And then also, whenever you look at the kind of the algorithm for finding that VC you should talk to, I think is people with that sector expertise, but also people that invest in the maturity of your company. So most of the folks that are VC firms aren't doing seed rounds. There are firms that do a lot of seed rounds. So inside the firms that do a lot of seed rounds, which partner is in your sector and is willing to invest in Northern California? Most of them here are, but if you're talking to a VC out of Northern California, you need to make sure that they look at your geography as well. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more, and then we're moving on to the bit panel.
Okay. One more question, if anyone has a question.
There's been a lot of issues, and recently they've been coming up with startups being stifled by potential regulations or existing regulation.
You want to repeat the question?
The question is, there's been a lot of startups being stifled by regulation in the Bitcoin space. That's the general broad question, right? Regulation is the question. And so my answer, actually today I just sent a petition, which is probably why this is relevant in your head, but which was against the current version of the bit license, which is the most relevant regulatory framework that's being issued by any state in the country. Because New York is the financial hub of the United States, they wanted to be the first to release something, and most states will probably follow what they do because they're New York, and then everyone else will say New York probably researched it. Right now, the biggest problems in it are, I'll go very specific, are redundant rules for federal and state. Basically, my estimates estimate that if to start a Bitcoin company to get through the bit license process, it will cost as much. It'll cost $2 million. It'll based off of legal compliance, filing, just AML, KYC, all those things. It will cost about $2 million in 18 months to be able to start a Bitcoin company, which which really inhibits a lot of innovation for the startups that I'm dealing with. So I'm asking them to rethink that. The things that I'm talking about are like not having the repeat federal and state. I don't know why the New York State thinks that they're better than the federal state. Like they need more information than federal. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. And there are a couple other redundant rules like that. Then the last part of it is, I thought it'd be a really interesting idea, which I hope happens, but I think is a low probability of happening, but a sort of sandbox for startups, for fintech startups to be able to try things. Because right now, if you want to start a bank, you need $25 million up front. If you want to start a brokerage, you need $2.5 million up front. If you want to start an exchange, you need $5 million. Like, there's no like gray area. It's just you need that much money, and to raise or have that much money, it's very like you can't just start one of these companies. And I think that inhibits a lot of people. That stops a lot of people from trying things. And so I would love just a sandbox environment where people know what they're getting into and they get tested on like guinea pigs. And I think a lot of people would be up for it just to improve financial technology. So those are very specific answers to the question, but that's what I think about the regulation right now. The bit license thing is it's a big problem, and we'll see what happens. I think there will be other states who fight it, like New Jersey's looking to release something, and Texas won't do whatever New York says. So that's basically how I'm thinking of it. No matter what, there'll be a second shot at it. It's just I want the bit license to do it well enough that my startups don't suffer, and that's why I released the petition today. So, yeah, if you haven't signed it, please sign it. I'll retweet it or follow me at Adam Draper, and you can see it. Yeah, cool.
Perfect. Well,
I should have done a hashtag for it. I didn't do a hashtag for it. Oh, hashtag bit license, but I don't like. There's probably a lot of those. Yeah, I did a couple hashtags. They're only 140 characters. Like
you're running out of space.
I had 2 links in it. Like it was too much space and too many things. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, so guys, let's put some hands together for Adam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you. Thanks NextGen and Ascent. And